Namaste and welcome to our yin and restorative yoga practice, along with gentle movement and of course ending in 5 minutes sitting in meditation. So for this practice, you want to grab all kinds of different props that you may have around, anything such as those that you see in front of you, my 2 blocks, strap, bolster, blanket, or any substitutes for that. And since we're going to continue this week's focus on bringing the shoulders and the hips into extension, let's start with a little opening in the fronts of the hips, either sitting directly on your calves or on a block or maybe even 2 blocks between your ankles in some form of hero's pose, virasana. And as with any of our physical postures, if this posture is not appropriate in your body, doesn't feel comfortable, see how you might adjust it or do a different posture, right? You can always opt out, making sure that you are taking care of your personal needs. And so with that, take a moment to settle in. So just the other day I sat to meditate, and it seemed like the moment I sat down to meditate, all the different sounds in my environment, or rather noises, just amplified. The person who was practicing his trumpet, just nearby, a baby crying in the background, the symphony of birds, hikers walking by. I was sitting at the park. And, at first I started to get a little tense inside, like, hey, I'm meditating. And then this voice inside of me said, hey, Michelle, this is the practice, right? There's never a perfect scenario in which to do our practices, whether it's meditation or the physical yoga or the pranayama or whatever spiritual practices that you have. Our daily lives is the practice. And to wait for an external circumstance to be just right for us to finally focus or to finally be at peace is really like chasing something that will never be caught. And it's really about bringing the practice into each moment, that awareness, that dropping in. And so when I sat and started to realize this again, or remember this, I decided to then meditate instead on my breath, on the sound of the trumpet, and then on the sound of the birds, and then on the sound of the voices walking by. And little by little, my nervous system started to settle. This is life. And I love the mindfulness teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my favorite teachers, how he defines meditation as looking deeply. So let's take a moment to look deeply within ourselves. Pausing maybe with the eyes closed and mentally scanning your physical body. Sensing its aliveness through all sorts of sensations. Areas that feel tense, areas that feel loose, all kinds. Feeling the breath without controlling the breath. What do you notice about its texture, depth? And how is the way you're breathing right now letting you know about your energy? Notice your state of mind. What is the quality of your attention right now? What is your attention drawn to, and how does that feel? And sense any emotions you're experiencing. Being life as it is in the present moment. Now let's begin to breathe in a little slower. Opening the mouth as you empty the breath. Letting each new breath become a little deeper, feeling where you can feel that expansion in your body. Let a few more exhales, release through the mouth, maybe even sighing it out. And then I invite you to allow a moment to practice gratitude, recognizing someone or something that you appreciate right now. And from this way of opening our hearts and our minds, begin to set your intention for this practice. What are you choosing to focus your energy on and cultivate? And then think of someone outside of yourself that you might like to dedicate today's practice to. A way of offering up your efforts for the benefit of somebody else's well-being too. And together, let's join our voices in the sound of interconnection, Om, supporting each other in our practice, chanting Om 3 times. Let in a deep breath. And now let's start to practice a breathing technique that helps us to regulate our energy so that it's balanced. And it also helps us to calm and focus our minds and our bodies. It's called Ujjayi Pranayama. It means victorious breath. And it's done by closing your mouth and breathing just through your nose slowly and evenly, in and out, while creating a soft whispering sound. That's done by gently narrowing the back of your throat. Listen to the sound of your breathing as you're setting a slow and steady rhythm that you can listen to throughout our physical postures and movements. Let the sound of your breath serve as an anchor for your mind. Anytime your attention goes astray from what's happening here now, find the sound of your breath. Continue to regulate your energy with it. And with that, let's take a moment here to lower down onto our backs, bringing a block with you. You can set it off to the side. And let's set up for moving bridge pose by lying flat on your back, bending your knees, and stepping your feet apart on the ground. Place the block either by the skinniest or medium width between your thighs, hugging it firmly so that your knees are separated as close to your hips width apart as possible. Separate the feet just as wide apart as the knees and parallel your feet to each other. Bring your arms close to your sides and walk your feet back until you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips, but not quite. Now, as you ground through the 4 corners of each foot and the backs of your shoulders, tilt your chin slightly back to open your throat and continue that slow, even breath pace so that on your next inhale, you start to lift the hips, lifting all the way up through the chest in bridge pose. And then as you exhale, you carefully lower your upper back, middle back, and tailbone last. Keep going at your pace of breath. The inhale to lift up into bridge, and the exhale to gently lower. About 3 more cycles of breath on your own. And when you lift your hips, keep your feet still, but bring the feeling as if you're dragging your heels back towards your glutes while you actively stretch the fronts of your thighs forward, bringing your hips into extension, bringing your shoulders into extension. As you're hugging the block, spin your inner thighs slightly towards the ground to create a slight internal rotation of your thigh bones, which then broadens your lower back. Now, when you finish this exhalation, let your pelvis rest on the ground for a couple deep breaths. Just notice how your body feels. And when you're ready, prepare to lift your hips and stay in bridge pose for your count of 5 to 10 deep breaths. And when you're lifting your hips this time, slide your upper arms closer together under your back ribs. Keep your arms straight, and if your hands happen to touch, you might interlace your fingers, or you might hold a strap between the hands, or just keep them apart. Press down to your outer upper arms to lift up to your chest. And tune into the quality of your breaths. So in Sanskrit, bridge pose is called Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. When you have finished your count of 5 to 10 deep breaths in bridge pose and have slowly lowered your spine and pelvis, go ahead and put the block aside. Keep your feet on the ground, your knees still bent, and gently windshield wiper your shins side to side to the pace of your breath. So as you inhale, dropping your knees to one side and exhale to the other several times. Helping to loosen your lower back and gently massage into it, as well as your glutes. And then from here, draw your bent knees together into your chest. And keep rocking just a few more times, whether you choose to rock over to one side or rock forward. Find a gentle way to lift your torso upright so that you can transition into tabletop pose, facing the front of your mat with hands and knees on the ground. Now you might want to have your blocks in front of your mat for later. Setting your fingers spread at the top of your mat, stack your shoulders on top of your wrists, and step your knees a couple of inches behind your hips. Now let's begin a few cycles of cat-cow pose. So tuning into your breathing as you inhale, glide your chest forward, roll the shoulders back and down, and look up, cow pose. As you exhale, contract your abdomen, drop your head and round your back, cat pose. Again, inhale, broaden your chest forward as you coil it up. Exhale, lift the belly in as you dome your back. And several more cycles of breath. And if you need to move your body in a different direction, if it's asking to loosen up differently, feel free to explore. Maybe shaking your head no, maybe swiveling your hips left and right, circling the torso, stretching one leg and the other. Staying connected to the sound rhythm of your breath. Spread your thumbs wide towards each other. Stretch the index fingers forward. And when you're ready, tuck your toes and lift your hips high. Draw them back, entering downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spend a few breaths continuing to move any way your body needs to loosen up. To warm up the backs of your legs, you could pedal your feet slowly in place to your breath. Along with that, you could open up your outer hips and the sides of your torso by swiveling your hips side to side like you're dancing the twist. Along with that, you could loosen your neck by shaking and nodding your head, lifting the shoulders back as you press your palms flat into the earth. And then begin to find stillness for a couple deep breaths in downward facing dog, lifting your hips high, dropping your head loose, and rotating your outer upper arms towards the ground. After this exhalation, step or lightly jump to the front of your mat, entering a standing forward fold. Separate your feet at least hips width apart. Wider if the backs of your legs feel really tight today. Parallel your second toes to each other and bend your knees a lot. Reaching your hands behind your lower back, interlace your fingers. If you can, hug the heels of your palms together. Or grab a strap and hold that so that you can space the hands apart. If you're feeling really tight in the fronts of the shoulders, that could be helpful. And with your knees still bent, inhale, lift your chest forward, tilt your weight forward. And then exhale, fold even more, dropping the head, stretching the arms away from your lower back. Maybe you sway the spine here. Maybe you shake and nod your head, but listen to your breathing. As you invite your jaw to unclench, maybe by fluttering your lips. Float your shoulders up and let your head fall. Relax your neck. One more deep breath in this version of Uttanasana, standing forward fold. We're going to move through some half sun salutations. So let's begin by pressing the hands either onto your legs, just not on your knees, or your two blocks, or the ground. And as you press firmly with your hands, inhale to stretch your spine forward, drawing the belly in, glide your shoulders back. Half forward fold. Exhale, hinge from your hips. Forward fold. Let's try that twice more. Press with your hands again. Inhale, stretch the crown of your head forward, lengthening the sides of your neck, the sides of your waist. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, continue to lengthen as you hinge forward from the hips. Uttanasana. One more time. Inhale, half forward fold. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold. Uttanasana. Press down to your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms forward, rising all the way to stand as you roll the shoulders back and down. Coil your chest up. Exhale, gather your palms in prayer in front of your heart center. Standing tall in mountain pose. Connect to the energy and feeling of your intention you're cultivating through this practice. Moving with that as we connect our bodies to our breaths. Let's offer gratitude to the sun through sun salutation. Surya Namaskar Si. As you breathe in, sweep your arms forward and roll your shoulders back and down. As you breathe out, fold over your legs. Plant your fingertips on the ground. Inhale, step your left knee behind you to a kneeling lunge and look up. While holding your breath, step back to plank pose, top of a push-up. As you exhale, lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin. Inhale, slide forward and roll your shoulders behind you and down to cobra pose. Tucking your toes, exhale, lift your hips back into downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot beside your left thumb, lowering your right knee, gaze up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow. Press down to your feet. Inhale, sweep the arms forward to rise all the way up, lifting your chest. Exhale, join your palms in front of your heart center. One more time. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, sweeping your arms. Lift your heart towards the sun. Exhale, Uttanasana, bow forward from your hips. Plant your fingertips on the ground. Inhale, step the right knee back this time, kneeling lunge, look up. While holding your breath, step into your version of plank pose. Then exhale, lower your knees, then chest, then chin, Ashtangasana. Inhale, slither forward and draw your shoulder blades down the back, broadening your collarbones, Bhujangasana. Exhale, press up, lifting the hips high to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb, lower your left knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and fold. Press to your feet, inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, join your palms at your heart center. 2 deep breaths. Notice what you notice internally. And then release the arms. Let's come on down to our hands and knees again. Grab a pillow, your bolster. If you don't have one, you can fold up your blanket so it's sort of shaped like this. And place it across the middle of your mat. Place your pelvis on top of that pillow. And let's come into a moving cobra pose to further warm up our shoulders. So it gives you a little more ability to lift your chest. As you plant the hands in front of you, draw your shoulder bones back, press your shoulder blades down the back, and then actively stretch your legs long and point your toes back so your feet are parallel, no wider apart than your hips distance, root down through the tops of your feet. All of that is to support your lower back. And then add some movements. You know, you could roll one shoulder back, look behind you, the other shoulder back. You could circle your head. How is your breathing? You could come up and down. So inhaling as you roll the shoulders back and down and lift the chest. Exhaling as you release down. So keep exploring movements here, particularly any part of your shoulders that might feel a little tense or rigid. Even loosening the neck will definitely help the shoulders. And then press up to all fours so that you can remove that prop from underneath and come all the way down flat on your belly. Now you may want to have a block or something like it to place on the right side of your skull as we're going to come into a yin posture for a few breaths. Focusing a bit more on bringing the shoulders into extension. So slide your right arm wide to the right with a palm face down on the ground. And with your left hand on the floor beside your left shoulder, press the ground away and begin to roll over towards your right outer hip as you rest the right side of your head onto your block or the ground. Pause for a moment and slide the right shoulder blade further down your back so you can open up space along the right side of your neck. And then breath by breath, just notice how your body, especially that inner right shoulder, is cueing you to how far back you need to lean. If you need to go very far back, you could step the left foot behind you. You could also step the right foot flat on the floor. You could wrap the left arm behind you. So experiment and see what is appropriate, and then be there in that version for the next 5 conscious breaths. And when I say be there, I just mean mentally be there. And feel the very end of this exhalation before you start to gently roll onto your belly. Come into Sphinx pose. We can pause there for a few breaths, placing the forearms in front of you and lightly lifting your chest as your shoulders stack right above your elbows. And just a few breaths. Notice what you feel, especially in the fronts of your shoulders on the left and on the right. How is your breath quality affected by how tense or relaxed your shoulders are? Do you notice a correlation? And take your time transitioning to the other side. You might place that block on the left side of your skull as you slide the left arm wide to the left, palm face down. And placing the right hand on the ground beside your right shoulder, begin to turn over towards your left outer hip, leaning the left side of your head on the block. Pause a moment and slide the left shoulder blade further down your back. And then listen to the cues your body is giving you. Notice if there's something different you need to do on this side. Whether stepping the right foot behind you, maybe the left foot on the ground, maybe wrapping the right arm behind. And once you've chosen the variation of this posture to be in, rest in the stillness of that posture and tune in. Notice what you observe moment by moment in this pose. Feel the end of this exhalation before you slowly begin to turn over onto your belly again, returning to Sphinx pose. Back in Sphinx pose, notice what is there to notice in your shoulders and your breath. Sliding your hands back beside your rib cage, press up to hands and knees and bring your legs in front of you. Let's prepare to set up, actually, don't bring your legs in front of you. Let's prepare to set up for supine hero's pose, getting deeper into bringing the hips into extension with the shoulders into extension. So behind you, you'll want to set up your choice of configuration of props so that when we lean back with the legs in hero's pose, you can feel the support to be able to relax your shoulders back and open the chest. Now, if you're not sure how low to place your props, go with the highest setup first, which is the mildest, and then you can remove props if you need to go deeper. So here's the highest setup I can think of with what I have. Tallest height of the block at the furthest end of the mat. Medium height of the block, closer to you, going across the width of the mat. Place the pillow on top of the two blocks, creating sort of a reclining chair back. And add maybe a, whatever you have, like a folded blanket to make it even higher. And then from here, bring your legs into hero's pose, whether you're sitting directly on your calves or gently rolling the calves aside to sit directly on the ground between your ankles. And then making sure that your feet are neither turned out or turned in helps to safely align your knees, because your knees are pointing that way, so your toes got to point that way. Keep your knees on the floor, no wider apart than hips distance. Check in with your breathing. Seal in the bottom of your front ribs and think of lengthening the tailbone down and forward as you start to lean back. This is a way to help stabilize your lower back. And as you lean back, notice if the props are supporting you properly. If you feel more open in the fronts of your hips and thighs, you might remove some layers of the props behind you so that you can go deeper back. And take it layer by layer, experimenting. Where does your body want you to end up right now? So that you can let yourself surrender any physical effort in the body and be still. When you ultimately find the setup of props to support, bringing your shoulders into extension. Now a milder version of support might be to roll up a blanket like a burrito and place it wide across the width of the mat so that as you lean back with your back almost flat on the floor, right underneath the bottom tips of your shoulder blades is that support of that rolled up blanket to drop the shoulders back. All right, now I'm gonna watch the clock for another 3 minutes. Notice if there's any adjustment that you need to make in your body so that you can be here consciously breathing and observing. Continue to soften in the bottom of your front ribs and lengthen your tailbone forward. Tune into this next exhalation to the very end before you take your time to begin lifting your torso upright. Give it several breaths. And when you arrive sitting upright, bring your legs out in front of you to open up the backs of the knees and release the ankles from that very deep stretch. You could even rotate your feet in both directions if needed. And gently, very softly, massage the knees. Circular strokes. Let's let out a couple clearing, cooling lion's breaths. So gather in a full breath. Stick out your tongue, open your mouth wide, release any sound with it. One more. Deep, deep inhalation. All right, let's set up for a seated spinal twist. Now, if you need to sit up on your folded blanket to feel more upright in the spine, feel free to do that. Bend your right knee and step the foot on the ground in front of the right hip or crossed outside of the left knee. Maybe also bend the left knee. So choose the setup that allows you to equally root your two sitting bones while sitting tall and relaxing your shoulders. Place your right hand on the ground behind your pelvis. Press into the ground with all of your lower body to inhale, lift up to your spine. As you exhale, rotate your rib cage to the right and lower your left arm to hold your right leg, or hook your elbow outside the thigh. As you inhale, press downward to lift upward again. As you exhale, continue to allow the twist. Several more breaths here. Feel into the bottom of your next exhalation before you gently unwind from this twist. Stretching both legs in front of you. Pause in Dandasana for 2 breaths. Just observe your body. And see if the similar setup for the second side of the twist is available here. Start by bending your left knee and stepping the foot on the ground in front of your left hip or crossed outside of your right knee, in which you might also bend your right knee. Place the left hand behind your pelvis, root into the ground, and inhale, lengthen up to your spine. Exhale at your waistline, begin twisting to your left, lower your right hand to hold your left leg, or to hook your elbow outside that thigh. Breathing in, root down to rise a little taller. Breathing out, allow your twist to deepen for several more breaths. The end of the exhale, unwind your spine. And let's bring the soles of your feet together, setting up in our next restorative posture, in which you may want to set up 1 or 2 blocks stacked right in front of you to lower your forehead on. So as you sit up tall, root down through the sitting bones, lift up your chest, lift up the back of the skull, relax your shoulders back and down. Keep your throat open, all the sides of your neck long, and then from your hips, begin to hinge forward. Adjust the height of your props so that when you bow fully in, you're able to keep the space throughout your neck, rather than rounding the shoulders, rounding the back. And the arms can relax. We're going to be here for, oh, I was looking for my watch, for 3 minutes. And gently begin to lift your torso upright. Stretch the legs out in front of you once again, pausing in Dandasana, stick pose, straightening the legs, sitting tall, observing your body, observing your breath, observing your mind. Now find a way to sit upright comfortably, whether you're sitting on a prop or not, so that your spine can feel upright. And let's continue to bring the shoulders into extension a little bit more with a neck stretch. So wrapping your right arm behind your back, sort of like a bind. Place your left hand on the right side of your skull, seal in your front ribs, lengthen up through the crown of your head, and then begin to drop your left ear gently towards your left ear. So this left hand is not really pushing the head, it's just letting the weight of the arm encourage the stretch in your neck. Relax your mouth, relax your tongue, your eyes. You could opt to play with slowly tilting your head to look down beneath your left armpit, tilting your head to look up towards the sky, and seeing in what angle you want to remain for the rest of the breaths in this next stretch. Couple more deep breaths. Release the left hand, release both arms, and lift your head upright. Just pause for a couple of breaths, noticing how your body is responding. If you're sitting cross-legged, you might switch the cross of your legs just to balance out the hips while we're doing this. Wrap the left arm behind you, so you're drawing the left shoulder back into extension. Seal the bottom of your front ribs in, so you're supporting the lower back. Lift up tall through the spine. And with your right hand on the left side of your head, gently drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Listening to your breathing. Relax your jaw and tongue. Soften the muscles surrounding your eyes. If you'd like to explore looking up while you're tilting your head this way, and then gently looking down to find a particular angle in which your neck would like to be in the stretch. And then stay there for several more breaths. One more deep breath. And release both arms. Lift your head upright and pause. Then grab either a block, maybe even 2 blocks, or could be your bolster. Just set it aside near the back of your mat and lower onto your back. Let's continue bringing the hips into extension. As you lie on your back, bend both knees, step your feet on the ground, and start with maybe a block. or your pillow. Place it wide across the mat under the flat part of your lower back, your sacrum. Make sure it's in a comfortable position, stably supporting you, and bend your right knee into your chest. Take hold of your right thigh or your shin. To whatever degree your left hip flexor is willing, straighten the left leg forward with your heel on the ground, flexing your left foot as you press the instep of your left foot forward, not turning out the leg. Notice what you're feeling is specifically in front of your left hip. If there's not much happening, this is where you could either add a second block or make that prop that's under your sacrum thicker. Maybe tilting it on the second level. So find the degree of your props to lift your pelvis on. And let's be in this posture for several more breaths. Ground the backs of your shoulders. You could use a strap as an extension of your arms if holding your right leg causes you to lift the shoulders off the ground. Relax your head and immerse in the sound, the gentle sound of your breathing. After this exhalation, step your 2 feet on the ground with knees bent. Just pause for a couple of breaths there. And notice if you might need to make the props more gentle in height. So lower if needed to start off on your second side. Bend your left knee, take hold of your left thigh or shin. Keep your right heel on the floor as you begin to straighten the right leg to your degree of comfort, pressing the instep of your right foot forward as you flex the right foot. Notice what you're feeling in the front of your right hip and whether or not you need to adjust your props. Try to keep the right leg from turning out. Shoulders and head on the ground. Deep breaths. The end of this breath, gently step your feet on the ground and pause there with knees bent. And then gently remove the props from under your body so that you can lie flat on the ground. If you need some support for your lower back, as we lie down into corpse pose, for one more pranayama, you could place your pillow or your rolled up blanket across the mat underneath the backs of your knees like this. And you might just shake out your legs, shake out your limbs, gently shake out your body to see if there's anything that needs to just unravel a bit more before you completely relax the body. I'm going to invite you here to practice another breathing technique called 3-part breathing, Durga Pranayama, which is a way to relax the nervous system. And all of the pranayamas can be a form of meditation because you're choosing one thing to focus your attention on, and that is the breath, to help you be present. And this also helps you to really stretch the capacity of your breath. And by breathing out longer than you breathe in, deeply relaxing your nervous system. So imagine your torso, which is from your pelvic floor all the way to the top of your neck, is divided into 3 cross sections. The first cross section is from your pelvic floor to your belly button all the way around. The second cross section encompasses most of your rib cage. And the third cross section includes your chest, upper back, shoulders, and neck. I'm going to invite you to breathe in 1/3 into the first section and pause, 1/3 into the middle, then pause, 1/3 into the top. We'll hold the breath while relaxing your body and observing how you feel. Then through the nose, we'll empty the breath really slowly and hold the breath out while relaxing the body and again noticing how you feel. So that's 1 cycle. Let's practice 3 cycles together and 3 cycles on your own before letting go of controlling the breath, and then notice how you feel. So to delineate the top and bottom sections, you might place a hand on the center of your chest and a hand below your belly button. Relax the shoulders back and down, maybe close the eyes. And before we start, gather in a full breath through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Then close the mouth to begin. Inhaling 1/3 into the lowest section. Pause, inhale to the middle. Pause, inhale into the top. Hold the breath, relax and observe. Then through your nose, exhale very slowly. Hold the breath out, relax and observe. Cycle 2. Inhale, lowest section. Pause, inhale, middle. Pause, inhale, top. Hold the breath in. Exhale slowly. Hold the breath out. 3rd cycle. Inhale, lowest section. Pause. Inhale, middle. Pause. Inhale, top. Hold it in. Exhale slowly. Hold it out. On your own, continue 3 more cycles. When you have finished, let go of controlling your breathing and observe how you feel. Resting your arms, continue to rest and observe for a few minutes in Shavasana. While resting a little longer, keeping your eyes closed, how does your body feel now? Sense the effects of your practice so far. As you listen to how your body wants to begin waking up, start with something small and gentle, like wiggling your fingers or toes, or slowly moving the head. Little by little, stretching, gradually turning over onto your right side to rest your head there. As you arrive on your side, pause to observe your breathing, just like we did in the start. What are the qualities in your breath now telling you about your energy? Has your energy shifted in any way since the beginning of this practice? Then take your time lifting your body up. Find a comfortable way to sit for 5 minutes sitting in meditation. Position your body so that you feel grounded, alert, and relaxed. You might place your hands in a mudra that supports a feeling tone you would like to bring out, such as stacking the palms face up on the center of your lap, thumb tips touching to help concentrate. Either close your eyes or steady a gentle gaze, downcast. And you might begin by just feeling the breath naturally flowing in and out, which is something that's happening in the present moment, resting on that sensation of the breath. As thoughts or feelings might arise, see them come and go, just like you're seeing the breath come and go. If you might get entangled in a particular thought or storyline, remember that the practice is knowing that and coming back to the feeling of the breath, back to observing. Letting all the moments that you seem to be distracted when you're meditating be part of the curriculum, part of the training of waking up and coming back. And there's a common teaching I receive in Buddhist practice, and looking at challenging circumstances or so-called distractions when we're trying to concentrate as opportunities rather than obstacles. Opportunities to practice what we're strengthening, that skill of compassionate witnessing and coming back to our seat of presence. The more we do it, the more we strengthen our ability to do it in our everyday lives, not just during formal practice. Notice how you're feeling now mentally and emotionally. Invite you to allow a moment of gratitude. Anyone or anything you'd like to acknowledge. Revisit your intention. And remember to whom you dedicated tonight's practice. Let's close, joining our voices and bringing the resonance we've created together out through our voices, so we're sharing it with the life around us as well as integrating it within us. Chanting Om 3 times. Let in a deep breath. And bowing in, honoring the lights within. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.